Welcome back, my subscribers. Today I'm talking about the lens that I've been waiting for a long time, the 35-150. Yes, so you've been keeping up with our camera news. You know that Tamron released a 35-150 about a year ago. I think maybe about a year ago. That thing sold out. That thing was sold out for months. And I remember signing up, waiting to get it, and then giving up on it and just ending up. I remember signing up for the pre-order and then just canceling it because I needed to get some other jobs done and just stuck with the Tamron 28-75 combined with the 70-180. But my real dream was to get rid of both of those two lenses and just have that one lens to rule them all, the 35-150. Why is that? I mean, when you're out shooting, whether it's an event, a wedding, portraiture, you're basically running and gunning, you're in the moment. Sometimes you don't have time to switch lenses. You might have a second shooter, of course, but if it's just you or you're just trying to get all the shots possible, you don't always have the time to switch to a wide angle or switch to a telephoto. This 35-150 design is genius, and I feel like it's so revolutionary because it's getting the best of both worlds, from the wide angle to the telephoto without compromising too much. And by compromising, I mean some people might not necessarily love 24mm because for some it might be too wide. But 35 is pretty universally known to be very documentary and wide enough without causing too much distortion. Now on the other end of the spectrum, we're very used to seeing 200. And when the 70-180 came out, it was very hard for many people to accept, or actually easy to accept, once you noticed the very minute difference between 180 and 200. So when I saw 35-150, I said, I love 35. I usually don't go wider than that. And if I do, it'll be very specialized. I would probably have a separate lens for that. But at the other end, would I be okay with 150 versus the 180 or 200? And the answer is yes. Because most of the time, I am within close enough distance to where 150 is powerful enough to get a close-up image in an event, in a wedding. Yes, 200 is awesome. Yes, 200 is awesome. 180 was awesome. Very close to 200. So 150, I think, is a sweet spot for the telephoto and for this lens design. Now, a caveat to that is today's cameras have so many megapixels that when you do need to crop, or you do need to put it into crop mode, that 150 easily gets you to the 200 and over. So it's not really a problem, and you're getting great compression at 150. Now, I'm not talking about the Tamron though. To my surprise, one of my favorite lens companies, Samyang / Rokinon, decided to release their own version. Now, I think this was genius of their part because, I mean, for a long time they've been known for being on the accessible end of primes, and very good primes. I remember starting with a lot of those lenses, manually focused, of course, and then when they started dipping their toes into autofocus, I mean, they had my attention. And at first, their autofocus wasn't as great. I think they've been refining it. They're on their version 2 now of several lenses. They're getting better. I feel like once they get to version 3, then we'll be talking a lot more serious. But they made the jump to also produce their first zoom lens. And I think that was either a year or 2 ago. And that was to produce their 24-70, which is, I know, a universal zoom lens to use. It's the workhorse for many photographers because you get the flexibility of going very wide at 24 to 70, which is a decent amount of focal, a decent amount of zoom in range. 70, which is a decent telephoto range for when you're on the go without being too specialized, like at 85 or 135. So Samyang's 35-150, $700 less, very similar size, almost everything exact. And to my surprise, the price was just great. So I jumped in, I pre-ordered, and you know what? Within 2 days, I got the notification that it was shipping out. I don't know if it's because the demand isn't as high now that the Tamron came out, but I think this lens is just as valuable and should be on the wish list for a lot of photographers out there who want to combine or reduce their lens loadout. Because when you have a 28-75 and a 70-180, they are both very different lenses because you're talking about different ranges. But if you just need to shoot and you need to react in the moment, a 35-150 is game changing. And I hate to use that word, but honestly, when I pulled the lens out of the box, I knew right away this was going to be interesting. So I've got it right here. I have it mounted on my A7 IV, and honestly, one of my concerns or worries when I was looking at the Tamron or this lens in general was, is it going to be too big? Is it going to be too heavy? And to my surprise, I don't know about the Tamron version, but the version I'm holding in my hands, the Samyang version, very solid feeling, very well built. Everything feels great in the hands. The zoom ring, the autofocus, the monofocus ring, it's pretty flimsy, but I really don't care. I'm not gonna be using that. I'm gonna be relying on the autofocus. The button controls, everything just feels solid. And when you put it into perspective, getting rid of combining two lenses uses into one lens. This is actually a very good compromise. Now, to put it into another perspective, compare it to the 70-200 f2.8, which is starting at 70, and yes, it's giving you a little bit more on the telephoto end, but I think size-wise and weight-wise, those lenses are a lot bigger and a lot heavier and stand out more. This right here, I would say it is on the larger end of lens sizes, but it's very manageable and I don't feel like it's out of balance in my hands. I actually feel good. I feel like it's reliable in terms of the handling to do quick focusing. It's got a nice lock here. It only extends this much further. So it's not a big difference. That's around 3 or 4 inches. I don't know. I'm not good at estimating that, but very minimal increase in size once you zoom in. So this is the lens right here. I think after handling 70-200s from other brands, other manufacturers of 2.8 and f4, this feels kind of like having a 70-200 f4 in terms of size and weight. But the awesome thing is it's just so versatile. Being able to go to 35 at f2, and 35 at f2 is just a no-brainer. That is a perfect combination for so many scenarios to capture establishing shots for anything, portraits, landscape, whatever you want. 35 is just a great focal length. Combine that with f2, you're getting that extra stop of light, which is awesome. Then you go to 150. By that point, you're at 2.8. So anything from 70, I believe it's 75-ish to 150 is at 2.8. Everything in between there is 2.5, 2.2. You're gaining a lot on the wider end. And that's the benefit of this lens. Having that ability to get completely different shots on the go without having to hesitate, without having to switch a lens. This is a dream lens. It's like that all-in-one lens that we've always wanted. I know some of those all-in-ones usually start at 24 and go to like 200 or more. But with those variable apertures that are very high, they sometimes start at 3.5 or 4 point whatever, and that's 6.3. This is different game right here. I did a quick test. I haven't had the lens for long, so this is really my first impressions. So first of all, the handling. I think the handling's great. Like I said, I don't think it's too heavy. I can actually shoot it with one hand. The construction is very good. I mean, parts are metal, parts are plastic. It's weather sealed in very many points. Dust, splash, all that crazy jargon that they have. The lens hood doesn't make it too much longer. I think it's very manageable, very easy to use. Oop. There you go, the first dings. The hood's plastic, so you are probably going to scratch this, but who cares? It's a lens hood. It's solid. It feels really good. It's made of plastic. Yeah, it's great handling. I mean, I have nothing to complain about. Now, image quality. This is where, I mean, that's the point of the lens, right? You want it to shoot right. You want it to get good image quality. This lens does not disappoint. I took it out to shoot very quickly, and I got so many different types of shots. It was just so, it felt good, satisfying to be able to go from 35 and then accommodate whatever my subject focus was. You could basically take a whole series of images of a subject with completely different perspectives with this one lens. I mean, if you shot a subject of interest at 35 and then changed your position, your angle, shot one at 70, shot one at 100, and one at 150, you have completely different looks, and it's just amazing. But yes, one thing that's very important when you have a zoom lens, if you're going to get the most out of a zoom lens, and this applies to 24 to 70, 70 to 200s, any type of zoom lens, you have to treat it like a prime. And by that, I mean, don't rely on just standing in one spot and shooting from the same position at different focal lengths. Yes, you can do that, but always shoot with the prime lens mentality of moving if you need to move, changing your perspective, changing your angle, seeing what different focal lengths have to offer. If you treat this lens like that, this thing is gold. I mean, I just love starting at 35, taking it all in, the whole environment, the establishing shot, and then starting to look at the details. This is how I would approach it, whether I'm doing landscape, event photography, or weddings. Then hone it into the details, into different angles. And man, I'm telling you, this lens is really worth it. I mean, I've paid way more for other lenses, and this lens really provides and delivers really great results. Great sharpness, great contrast, very easy to use, feels good in the hand. I mean, I edited the raw images really quick, just like I would for any other job, and I was really happy with the results. So I highly recommend this lens. I'll put my images up so that you can review it. I'm gonna shoot some car content, and I'll share that as well. But the first images, the first set you'll see are very landscape vibe, with some fishermen on boats and stuff like that. Just amazing. I was really far away from a lot of the subjects. Some of them I was close. It was just amazing. The ability of capturing images with this lens, it really changes the way you can imagine a photo shoot going. And then the other thing, I think lots of previous primes, they have color shifts and stuff like that. I think the 35-150 from Samyang shoots a little bit more purple or green. I forget which tints they go for. I thought this one was very neutral, very true. I did not struggle very much to edit these images. The autofocus, perfect. I mean, especially with the A7 IV or anything of its kind. You've got real-time autofocus. The tracking is impressive. I mean, I didn't see it struggling or hunting at any time. I took pictures of a dog walking pretty quickly toward me. I think that was mostly people. There were people walking around, jogging. The autofocus, they did a good job with the motors, combining it with the technology that we have in the Sonys that is just so reliable. I'm excited to see, once they do more upgrades for the firmware, how much better it will be. But just based off of the test that I did, I wouldn't hesitate using this at an event, at a wedding. Of course, I'm gonna keep testing it before I even do that. But yeah, Highly recommended so far. Check it out. All right, stick around. I hope you enjoy the images.